Hi guys, how's it going? I don't know why I'm so happy because it's only a Tuesday. What can I do on a Tuesday? Taco Tuesday. Tacos. Okay, everyone's thinking I'm on drugs now. I'm not. It's just, it actually feels like a Monday. Monday. Why does it feel like a Monday? Anyway, Zara's here as my co-host because my other co-host decided he wants to wash his fur. Have a shower, basically. So, yes, pretty girls. Pretty singing. My budgies, they're very talented and they like what I got them in the Shein haul, which is wonderful. I think I need a trip to the Happy Pet place today. No, I'm not going because my budget, I've got a budget and I've got categories of everything, you know, all my bills and everything. And the spare bit of like the bit that I'm allowed to use for choice things is in the red. Only a few dollars, but doesn't matter. Red, I'm being legit. In the Excel spreadsheet, it turns red. It turns red. Okay, have a look. If you know the formulas and all that, I love my formulas. And Excel is kind of, budgeting for me is zen time. I love numbers. I forget about the fact that it's even money. It's numbers to me. It's formulas in Excel spreadsheet. I love it. Anyway, in my welfare days, I used to manage $80,000 a year. I was only in my early 20s for emergency relief for people who needed food. And it was the best job in the world. It was an honor to have that job. And that's where I started my career. And I loved it. But unfortunately, I had this, I need more studies done. I need more. I'm an intellect, unfortunately. And it can be actually a bad thing sometimes. But I went to university to do psychology. So I did 3 years of psychology after a whole year at TAFE doing Cert 3, Cert 4. But on the job I did my diploma of social welfare, which is different. Doing on the job, it's kind of better and easier because it's mostly practical. But then again, I worked in a community centre, so it was very practical. Trust me, okay? There's a good variety of things you learn. And I used to be such the dork that, you know, and boy did I dress dorky then. If you knew me in my 20s, you'd go, wow, was that you? No, dork. I was such a dork. Anyway, basically, I'd ask, you know, the paralegal would come in on a Thursday and he'd be there all day and I'd be like, at the photocopy, like, oh, so what about if this happens and that happens? I used to chew people's ear off, financial counsellor. I ended up learning financial counselling because I was just like, MYOB, you've got MYOB? I've heard about that. Can you teach me? So we played with that for a long time in our lunch breaks. And then the social worker, I'd chew her ear off. And the financial counsellor, oh my gosh. Not the second one, she was a bitch. The first one we had, no, she was. She said one day when we were in the reception thing before we were beginning to open the doors and start for the day, we're all standing in the reception area. And she says, I love messing with people's minds. And I was like, that's really weird. And anyway, now that I've studied psychology, it's like, that's a psychopath. Okay, met a psychopath. That was cool. I remember that we had a work barbecue. Oh dear. Autism. Okay. Mama bear. Combine those two together. When your kids use special interest. Listen to this. Oh, I tell you, this is obviously storytelling morning first to begin with. Anyway, I can't see. No, I can, but I'm being dramatic. We're at the barbecue. Look at my nail polish and how shiny it is. It's a $2 one from a place that we picked up when I was getting my Band-Aids. $2 nail polishes are better than the expensive ones. Like, always, always. I like being poor sometimes. Anyway, I don't really. For the reasons being, I want some more experiences in life, and experiences cost money. Anyway, stupid, right? We're at this barbecue, and my son reaches for someone's wine, and I just went, oh no, sweetie, you know, and grabbed it away from his hand. This is my youngest, because I've got one here, and I'm like, and I'm struggling, like, you know, I'm wrangling crocodiles, man. 2 kids, just under 2 years apart, boys, and one that just wants to run everywhere, and you're like, oh, free-range chickens running around, I can't catch this chicken. You know that last chicken that never gets in? If anyone's had a chicken coop, you all know, or if it's a goose, I don't know. There's always that one. There's always that one. It's always the same one. It's always the same little bitch that doesn't get the hell in there when you tell them it's bedtime or it's dusk and it's ready for bedtime. You need to go in your coop, and there's one, and everyone's running. I remember me and my nana like, you know, like running after that last chicken. Get back in there. But I don't think my nana used to end up letting them out that often, really, because I used to always kind of tell her off, poor thing. I'd say, Nana, you know, like, Wendy's chickens get to run around a lot more than this. And I think she said something like, well, my chickens aren't pets. And I was like, so offended. But that's just how it was. My nana grew up in England where Harry Potter. Beatrix Potter. Not Harry Potter. That would be my grandfather. Isn't that Scotland? Castles and things? My grandfather grew up in Scotland. My grandmother grew up in the Lakes District. I'm sorry. Far out. Beatrix Potter. Okay, she grew up in that area. That's why she can't swim, poor thing. I'm sorry, Nana. It shouldn't be funny. Okay, but it's funny. I'm an Aussie kid. I don't get it. You can't swim? That's what I said to my Nana as a kid. You can't swim? I was just thinking, what's wrong with my Nana? She's broken. Who can't swim? I mean, this water thing is just... Oh. I mean, 6 weeks out of hospital, I was in that water. I was, as a baby. Mainly because the neighbour was a swimming teacher. That's all really, probably. But yes, no, my mother was aware that in Australia, your kids must swim. Good tip, that, actually. Any kid should swim. But basically, yeah, now let's go back to the other bit of the story. Have I forgotten it? Please don't forget things. Before the chickens, we were having conversation before the chickens. The chickens got me. Oh, they got me. Right in the heart. Just picturing it. Before that, we were talking about something. Oh, yeah, my son. And anyway, the psychopath lady from work was sitting next to me. That was, I think it was her wine. And she was like, oh, sweetie, you can have some. The next 2 seconds, I turn my head, right? And so I hear this, and I once again intercept and put my son on my lap. Poor kid, because he's playing with all these other little kids. And I was like, oh. And I was like, why would you do that? And I'm starting to get real, you know. She's like, calm down. What's your problem? You know, like psychopaths do. You know, that calm down thing. And it's like, oh, yeah. You know that everyone else in the room doesn't know what the fuck's going on. But I do. Yeah, I shouldn't say in the room because we were outside. But it was kind of an undercover area. But basically, I was like, the mama bear in me was like, and I was ramping up. And I remember someone coming over, oh, you know, what happened? And I just said it outright, what happened? And I was like, you know, and then this person was thinking that I was just being anxious and going, oh, you know, well, he didn't drink it, so you're okay. So it's okay, mummy, calm down. I felt like saying, fuck off. This bitch was trying to feed my child alcohol. Okay? I I wouldn't. I'd punch. Absolutely for my kid. I was very angry. I was very angry. I'm one of those mama bears. I remember when my first son was born, you know, that first feeling of the maternal instinct. You're not used to it. It's like when you turn into an adolescent, you go, I don't know how to deal with this. Don't know how to deal with this. And motherhood's worse. You get these maternal instincts and you go, oh, what is this? And then you know, someone's holding your baby and you're like, I don't know that person, therefore I don't trust that person. And I just went up to this lady who obviously someone I trusted had my baby and gave them, and I just grabbed him like in a concerned way, and they were all like, oh, it's okay, it's okay. And I'm like, fuck no. No, it's not. No, this is my baby. No, it's not okay. Okay, now you're really thinking that I'm absolutely a paranoid mum. I was. I think you have to be, actually. But yeah, I was like, you're not touching my kid, okay? Just like, no, okay? I just don't let strangers handle my baby. It's a bit like, guys, in shops, and I've seen this being spoken about, and it is true. I don't know if old ladies do it, because when I had kids, it was an era when it was safe for that to happen. I didn't really get offended when an old lady would come up to, especially, oh my gosh, my youngest would put on a performance. He learnt very quickly that he could draw a crowd. So he decided that he was going to draw a crowd every time we get to the checkout. He'd babble, he'd goo, gar, everything. And people came flocking. Because, well, my kids, of course, were beautiful looking kids. And this one just knew how to draw a crowd, and he did. And then when he got them, and then good, he'd just be like lapping it up. And I'm just like, oh gosh, he's manipulating you ladies, you oldies particularly. Okay, he looks for you grey-haired ones and he goes, yep, I've got that one. I know how to get that one. Okay, girls. They're listening. So yeah, it's quite funny. But yeah, you shouldn't touch other people's kids in public. It's kind of creepy. But in my day, it was different. Perth was smaller, everything was safer. I think things were just very, very different. I'm not going to say they're completely safe. Gosh, we had, I know in my area, oh gosh, I've had lots of serial killers around my areas of existing. Like, for example, the first one was the Bernies were driving around my school as well. When I was, I think I was still in primary school, or it could have been first year in high school, I don't know. And then I think it could have been, yeah, first year of high school. And then later on, in my years of clubbing, not that I really did that being a mum, but when I did go out with my friends, we all had to be so vigilant because there was a serial killer going around Perth, like big time, including involving taxis. So women couldn't even take a taxi. It's insane. It's insane. Serial killers are insane. What am I saying? Of course, it's insane. Oh, that was not nice to do to Zara. Are you jelly? Jelly cat? Is that what they called them, jelly cats? Because my cats are jealous of her. I know. Even though she's not real. Do you want to have a... My speech is not good with my neurology at the moment. All right, boys. The little ones here, trouble is about to brew. This is playtime, so I'm going to move this remote control that I don't even need right now out the way. Are we going to behave? We're having a bit of a thunder at the moment in Perth. A bit of a... That's not a very good impression of a thunderstorm, is it? No? Anyway. The coffee's good, though. Coffee's good. I'm hyper today. but I have to rest. Why does this ponytail like look a little bit? I slept in them, you see, so it's like a bit of a problem. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know what's going on. Anyway, yes, no, my speech is, that's why you're hearing my masking speech, which is, that's why it's like different pronunciations with every single word, because I'm masking, because I'm struggling to just naturally speak because of my brain not connecting to my mouth. Because I need oxygen cylinders now, not an oxygen concentrator, which is more conversations on the phone about that today, is because oxygen being in the 70s, the stuttering and all that, oxygen is affecting my brain. So that causes a lot of problems in the brain, which is actually really annoying and sad. Good boy, you can get up, but I'm going to move this away so you can't channel surf, because that's just annoying. You're going to put something like Bluey on, aren't you? That's very sitting. You're going to put Bluey on? You would, wouldn't you? All right, he's looking for, what can I? Look at him. He's just looking for trouble. He's just looking for something to mess up. Right. No, you're not going to surf over to my bedside table. I'm moving the table now. Oh, good boy. I've got one here. Who's the favourite? Mummy's the favourite. Can you see that one? There's Willow. So, aren't I blessed? How blessed am I? I've got these two bookends. Oh, my God, it makes me want to cry. I want more animals. Don't try and attack my feet, and the next thing you're going to do is try and mess your brother around. Okay? Don't even. I can tell by his tail he's had enough of your shit, Steve. Sorry, in our household, I'm sorry for your name, Steve. But if anyone's been an idiot, we call them Steve. Like, stop it, Steve. You're an idiot, Steve. F off, Steve. And to the person that said, I'm not allowed to swear, it's wrong, I go to a Baptist church, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but you don't get to tell another adult how to be an adult. And it is just a word, and I am religious too, and God is not an extremist. He's love. And I am not swearing at people in a way that is intending to harm, and I'm not swearing at people anyway. Unless they're evil people, like Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I'll swear about her, at her, of course, because she's a smurderer. Okay? Who smurders their mum? Her. I don't know anyone else. Thank God. Just the serial killer of Perth. And it took him 21 years or something to get him behind bars. Australian Police Force. It's probably improved. Or not. I don't know. But I think we could do better. I think, same thing with the government. Just get rid of them all, start again. Same with the police force. Get rid of them all, start again. Sounds good to me. I'd like to be involved in the training, because I don't think they serve and protect. I think they stir shit up and be an arsehole to everyone. They're nasty to everyday people. They're aggressive. Australia's always been a bit like that. A bit of, a sort of a unruly country. I remember being pulled over for speeding with the guns. He jumped in front of my car. A bit like there's a person in, I think, Australia somewhere who has taken a police officer to court because I think they did hit them. I don't know. Or they nearly hit them. I don't know. But something happened about a police officer jumping in front with a speed gun. And anyway, it happened to me, but it was on this long stretch. I was coming from Hillary's from my parents' house. And basically, I shouldn't disclose where they live. But anyway, Hillary's is a big place. They don't know my parents' names. It's okay. Paranoid. Anyway, basically, I was coming home from there. And they had this new part, like, so Marmion Avenue, right, was 80, changed to 80. And then this other bit was still left at 70, right? And of course, I'm going further north because I'm young and broke ass and living in a rental that's cheap, further away from the city, as you do when in Australia when you're. We just don't have large enough towns to live in. We only have cities. You have to live in a city. There is no choice. It actually costs more money to live in the country in Australia. Did you know that? You should know that. It actually does. So know that. That's why a lot of us old Australians are quite sad, because a lot of us did used to live in country towns. I grew up in Denmark, Western Australia for a lot of my years. I spent a lot of time in Parongarups. Those places have a big place in my heart. But I can't afford to live that way. And also, we're not allowed to live self-sufficiently in Australia. Not allowed. It's against the law. So, oh God, this reminds me of these two guys that are doing this channel. They're so good. And I should subscribe to it. But then again, there's some really inappropriate things in there that I don't even like. I'm like, that doesn't need to be said. It's rude. So I don't watch certain bits. So I guess that's good advice to the person who might not like my swearing. Maybe I might not be the person for you to watch. And that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. That's okay. Sometimes in life that happens. Or like I do, I look past, this is just me. You do you, and this is not a lecture, but I just think you're a lovely person, regardless of the fact of what you said to me about swearing. Doesn't matter to me. You are a beautiful person. What I'm saying is, what I do is I overlook that bit and enjoy the bits that, like, I do align with and do agree with. That's what I do. But yeah, like he was taking the mickey out of the fact that it's not funny, but it is funny in a sad way of, like, it's like dark humor, I guess, isn't it? And he had his tent, and they're not literally homeless either. They are a YouTube channel that have a lot of money coming in. They've got millions of subscribers. But basically, he calls a removalist truck. But they think they're coming to a particular house, and he goes, no, it's that tent and those things there, and we're moving them just down the park to a different end of the park or something like that. And they're looking at him like, scratching their heads, and they're like, is this guy for real? He's called a removalist truck to move us, and then they move them. And then, because he was such a nice guy to them and he wasn't being, rude to them or anything, these guys were actually feeling sorry for him. And one of them actually said, hey, mate, do you want to come live at my place for a week? Are you okay? And he goes, no, I'm fine. Because, of course, this is a skit. Now, he tells him in the end, but, yeah, it was really funny, because that's kind of what it's like in Australia at the moment. People are living in tents that you wouldn't imagine. Single mums, single dads, not elderly women that are my age. Their kids are grown up and their partners probably went and traded them in for a newer model. Happens. Some men can be assholes. And so basically they have nowhere to live because they've lost their jobs as well, because, people like the younger ones now. It actually is true. You young ones should be very grateful, because I do think that getting a job more than ever in this era is worse for people that are above, 35, 40. I think it's hard. And I think that's wrong, to be honest. We never used to be like that in Australia, and nor with the housing crisis, and nor with the medical care. It never used to be like this. But anyway, this isn't what the conversation was about, but moving tents, that was funny. It's like, some people just don't know. So please, if some Australians out there, because there's so many that I sometimes wonder. And when I went to that event the other night, part of that was a lot about homelessness came up a lot because it was so relevant. And yes, this is the deep and meaningful part. Forget it, let's just go with it because it's here. So I just want to say, like, I come from privilege. I was even able to, you know, make it on really low income and rent a house and pay my bills and do everything myself. We've never struggled like that. Never. You've always been able to make it in Australia. And those days are over. To the point that my grandchildren will never know what it's like to possibly have a house. They might have an apartment, not a house. Or buy their own home. Like, I don't see that happening for my grandchildren. Compared to if I look at how I grew up and just put things into context too, with some families are all different. I come from a very religious family, so, you know, yep, indoctrinated into all of that. You're just a housewife and a mother. Doesn't that just ruin your life? Yeah, thanks for that generational trauma too. But basically, at the end of the day, my Nana had my mum at about 17. My mum had me at 21, and I had my first at 20. So when I talk about my grandkids, there's not many gaps in between. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not against immigration, guys. I'm not. I'm just feeling displaced in my own country. I'm feeling like everyone's so stressed and working so hard that it's actually breaking my heart. Because I know the psychology of what it does to the people's minds, and I'm seeing it happen. People are angry, people are depressed, people are, you know, families. And I put that down to okay, I'm just turning my, I have it on low heat in the mornings. I think my family would not be all separated if this money thing that the immigrants have brought 20, 30 years ago, if that didn't happen and we were still the Australia just slowly growing like most countries do, then we just wouldn't have the problems we have today. And like I said, it didn't have to be that way. So if you want to bring in immigration, you just have to bring in the infrastructure and the hospitals and the education systems and use the taxes the way they're supposed to be used, and actually not let anyone end up homeless and not let Australians not be able to buy a home anymore. That's all I'm saying. I'm not against people coming and living in our country. I'm against the fact that why the hell has it become like that? There's working families living in tents who are on low income, of course. Not everyone gets an education. And if you're someone out there that thinks, oh, everyone can do this, everyone can do that. I was someone that beat that statistic, who was told I was stupid and dragged out of school, told I was no good except for being a housewife and a mother. It's exactly what she said to me. When I'm crying as well with TAFE papers in my hand. You're stupid. Why would you want to go to TAFE? Because I'm a woman. More generational trauma. So once again, young ones, can you imagine that? You got an education. You were encouraged, in fact. Oh, go to university. Absolutely. I'll look after the kids. I'll do some washing around the house. I didn't have that kind of mum. I never had, and my mother-in-law couldn't do it because of being elderly and having cancer. She couldn't do it. She could only do what she could do. She did a lot considering. But I never had anyone come over and say, oh, I'll do a load of washing. And not once. I did it all myself, and I never complained because I didn't realize that my life sucked at the point that it did at that point. Now I do. But Australia, it's making me sad, and I'm going to put it out there because I think that Australia, we're all becoming apathetic to it. I don't know if that's the right way of saying apathy. Apathetic. I don't know. But we are. And that needs to stop. And it just needs to stop. So when you can help someone, please do. Because you can change people's lives. And if you're poor, like me, you can change people's lives overseas if you can't do for people here. You know, there's many, and I'm not going to go into the darkness of some of the things out there that can be supported, because I just don't want to. At this point in my life, I just can't be in that trenches right now, you know? I've got enough to deal with in my fight. That support who you can when you can, because we've become so commercialized that, you know how people are into this being in nature, and I watch a lot of them on TikTok, all of these girls that are living, especially this one girl, her and her mum are hippie and live, you know, well, she lives on her mum and dad's property in this house that she's built and whatever, and there's this little lake thing that she swims in, and she's just so cool, and she just makes things out of all natural stuff, and she's really clever like what she does. And there's other women out there I'm watching too, and they're living in nature, right? And they've made their own homes. These are women, they've made their own homes, all mini homes and all quaint like females do. All of us females normally, you know, make it all pretty and whatever with nature stuff, you know, and it's so cool. It's like, that's my dream. You know what I mean? If someone was to say, well, what is your dream? That's my dream. That is to live like that. But I'm not healthy enough to live like that, unfortunately. But that's how I would live if I was healthy, if I had a choice. But and one lady's actually in Queensland. But, you know, it's just really sad to see that. That's why I find it funny how housewives and mothers who do it properly, who do all of the work from A to Z, the real deal, not just sit on the couch and eat chips watching daytime TV. I'm talking about the ones that actually do all of the running around for the whole family, it's a big deal running a household, keeping it peachy clean, food cooked, food in the freezer to reheat, everything's decked out. If someone's looking for batteries, they're there. If someone's going to a birthday party, I've already got presents and wrapping paper and this and that. I was sorted because I'm autistic, I guess, and, you know, I'm just OCD and over the top. But basically, that all of that's worth money now. People pay people to do all those jobs, and it's like, fuck you all. You all thought I was useless. Now, most of those times when I was just that, if people want to call me that, because I don't see it as just that at all. I see it as the best job in the world and the most important job in the world. And if you're religious, you'll understand as well. But basically, you know, it's now paid for. And it's just funny to me because people didn't think I was worth anything. Anyway, now you got to pay for that stuff. Huh? Funny that. And it's just not natural to be cared for and to be living in a situation where it's just not naturally. The welfare used to come from family. The welfare used to also come from your own, like everyone had a way of making money, which has also been taken away with so much. Like you have to have this ticket, this registration, this. They are so over the top controlling what job you have and how you have it and credentials for it. Now, I'm not talking about the jobs that you need credentials for. Of course, there are jobs that you have to have credentials for. I'm talking about if you're a cleaner, you know, having to have da-da-da-da. It's just ridiculous now. So that takes away from the person being able to have their own business and be able to make it on their own, be their own welfare is what I'm saying. Welfare isn't, if you're pairing it with government, every time you hear the word welfare, that's exactly the programming they've done. It's programming. They've made you think that them giving you back your money, that you should be like, oh, thank you. That's your money in the first place, idiot. Okay. Most people, I know we did, for 25 plus years, 6-figure income, we were, the tax bill was big because we weren't smart and didn't go to those clever creative accountants. And we spent all our money on our kids. That's how stupid we were. Because it didn't seem to make any difference. And I'm not saying as in like materialistic things like just toys. I'm talking about like in other ways. So at the end of the day, it's not natural how we're living. And that's why everyone's so, oh, this doesn't feel right, or, oh, I can't keep this relationship, fuck off. It's because it's been designed to screw your relationships up in every area. Work, you put in a cubicle and you complain about chickens being kept too close together. Do any of you that work in a cubicle not feel a little bit like, oh, I hate the person in the next cubicle, how can I get away? You can't. Why is that different to a chicken? Hence why we all like free-range chicken places where they get to roam free and live their best life. If they want to surf or they want to snowboard, I'm joking, play soccer, they can live their dream. Okay, they can do those things, reach their potential. No, anyway, but you know what I mean. They're not like tortured animals stuck like this, like cockert. What am I here for? God, why am I here? Cockert. And don't say, oh well, then if there's a God, why did that happen? Humans, the sin of humans. Get it the right way around. Satan's good at flipping it. Unflip it, you'll get the right answer. But anyway, I'm just saying, it ain't natural. It's not what's been intended for us, and that's why it's not working, and that's why the world's a mess. It's simple as that. This is designed to be a torture place, and only the lucky get out, but not everyone can. But anyway, thanks for the morning coffee chat. Bye, guys.